tiny bit of trivia that you may or may not know. The year's 2024 and it's almost going to be 1 decade of ViniTube here on YouTube. Now that's quite a long time giving you some anime content, whether they be seasonal updates, lists that take you on nostalgic trips, or some plain recommendations. So here's the thing, I'm looking to give things a little twist now, so for today's video, let's go past the typical 20 or 10 items on a list. Let's try something a little bit different, because today I'll be sharing my top 30 action anime of this century, grouping seasons together as one entity. That means we'll be going from the year 2000 to the present era in a more rapid fire preview of anime titles than usual. See if you can find something new to watch. Ready? Here we go. Number 30 is Dororo. Dororo to me helps epitomise what a remake should be. The base story is already pretty cool, with it being a dark fantasy with elements of an underdog story and a stand against the world theme, blending together some great action with a journey of self-discovery. It's a classic that was around when most of us weren't even born, but this remake from 2019 did more than enough to bring back this icon into the modern era. The super updated visuals are a given, and the things that make up the heart of the show, the dynamic between our main duo and the themes revolving around morality, were all retained. It's a pretty simple story that's easy to get into, and newcomers will be more than pleased to see the spectacular visuals, an aesthetic that's genuinely Japanese, and some great character progression woven in between visually awesome battles. For number 29, we have a certain scientific railgun. The term spin-off typically signals mixed reactions, with a lot of them failing to live up to the quality of the original. In the case of Railgun, however, it did the opposite, and 3 seasons later, it's easily the piece of media in the A Certain series that's held in the highest regard. It manages to do it by simplifying things and crafting multiple self-contained yet entertaining arcs featuring a lovable quartet of main characters and the other citizens of Academy City. Things do escalate up a notch at times, but it never seemed to be trying too hard to be this grand, spectacular lore dump that's caused some people to shy away from the long-running franchise. Through 3 seasons, Railgun has managed to maintain its quality, and it makes for a very nice casual watch. One that also has a good share of bright and awesome moments that make them stand out. At number 28 is My Hero Academia. So soon, you're probably thinking.
You read minds.
Yeah, considering the legacy My Hero Academia has built and the memories it's left us with so far, I can understand questions regarding the relatively low place on this list. Now don't get me wrong, it's a pretty fun show that really came in at the right time when the superhero boom was in full swing. It has a diverse and engaging cast of characters, some uplifting thematic elements that make it a great start to shonen, and some genuinely awesome moments in music that will stay with us for years to come. While it also generally plays things a bit safe for 2010 standards, that isn't such a major knock on it. Overall, a good start to shonen, and one that looks to be getting more and more seasons and movies in the future. It's never too late to hop on and join the eager seasonal fans in the future. Number 27 is Psycho Pass. Psycho Pass, if you're to ask me, is one of the anime with the strongest and most relevant themes when we consider its reflection on reality. The dystopian world being depicted in this action title seems to inch closer to reality with each passing day, and watching the implications of that through the lens of fictional media is something I'm sure the more analytical of watchers would love. That's the main selling point of the series, but Psycho Pass has the action to keep the other types of viewers wanting more. It's got great fight choreography in the key confrontations, something that has likewise aged like fine wine. The first season of this is nothing short of amazing, and there's just no way the sequels can live up to it in my opinion, but I think that they have their own charms and values, so don't hesitate to pick them up after finishing the first season. My number 26 is something niche. It's Garden of Sinners. Garden of Sinners is arguably the toughest anime to watch in the entire list. I don't mean that in a negative light, but this series of movies is really dialogue heavy, dealing with philosophical themes that may prove to be meandering to the average anime fan. The way the movies are structured also adds to that issue, but that doesn't mean that I didn't come out of the movies feeling satisfied and enlightened about what depth anime can have. It's just that it's a niche series of films to get into, and understandably so. And while the fighting isn't the main focus of Garden of Sinners, you do see some moments of brilliance in the action department. Shiki's always a badass, badass, and the apartment zombie sequence still holds up to this day, almost 2 decades later. We got Cyberpunk Edgerunners at number 25. How about a modern video game anime making its mark on this list, eh? Cyberpunk Edgerunners is pretty much peak video game anime if I had to quickly recall things off the top of my head. It wasted no time getting me hooked, and it really showcased the strength of the cyberpunk show and the implications of a world where humanity and technology intersect. The world is great, and it's an anime that's full of heart, one that's full of intensity and emotion too. It's a surprise hit from 2022 that I honestly didn't expect to be this good, but here we are. Studio Trigger did it again. We have more recent anime on the list with Heavenly Delusion at number 24. I have to say, this show caught me off guard. Entering its season, I never expected that much of it. Definitely not to the point of it being one of spring's best hits. All eyes were on Oshinoko, Demon Slayer, and Hell's Paradise, but Heavenly Delusion ended up being a big winner that season. This sci-fi mystery provided something different from the usual fare, and it managed to maintain its dark and ominous atmosphere all the way to the end. Heavenly Delusion definitely isn't something I'll consider a gateway anime. It's got some elements that disqualify it from being a show I can easily recommend to anyone, but the post-apocalyptic backdrop and how it bridges two storylines, two plots full of intrigue together, is something that I'll always credit for my enjoyment of the show.
ここから逃げて。ここは危ない。
And if we're talking about under the radar, how about Blades of the Guardians at number 23? Chinese anime has rapidly been stepping up its game recently, and if you want proof of that, look no further than Blades of the Guardians from this past year. Given to us by the people who helped bring us King's Avatar, this anime has everything you'd want from a period show. A well-written story with eye-popping fights that don't shy away from showing some violence, and a lot of fleshed-out characters for you to follow. It's pretty simple in execution and doesn't exactly try to be something unique, but with its excellence on the production side of things, it just doesn't have to be. If you like historical anime in any form, you'll love this, and you'll find it very easy to binge this anime due to its really interesting story. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Let's not leave that time period, because our next entry, number 22, is Demon Slayer. To further hammer down the point that execution is what really matters, here we have Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer at its core is a simple story, but I think that's really where its strength lies. A story that's easy to follow, with some lovable characters that the audience can attach themselves to and care about, and some insane fight animation and effects. The formula to craft a winner and a record-breaking media empire, I'd say. Demon Slayer rode those highs and easily took over the anime world in 2019, while also possibly showing the blueprint to success for an action show in the modern era. Credit where credit is due. While Demon Slayer may have its share of critics, when it comes to what it's supposed to do well, like craft a simple yet very engaging story to entertain battle shonen fans, and Demon Slayer really excels. Number 21 is Hellsing Ultimate. If you were to ask someone from the 2000s what the definition of edgy, stylish anime looks like, then look no further than Hellsing Ultimate. The 2000s was an era where the dark, reddish aesthetic, as well as the no-nonsense badass Demon Slayer protagonist, was cool and every teenage boy's dream. Throw in the unbridled madness, the violence, and that don't give a damn attitude, and you have a show that encapsulates what makes that era so cool. To its credit, Hellsing Ultimate is a show that actually has some pretty sensible themes woven into it, but we all know people back then didn't watch it for those. Most of them wanted the cool, edgy stuff, and they wanted to relish in the carnage of epic battles, the mature content for big boys that can only be possible in the world of anime. Hellsing Ultimate was the perfect source of that fix. At the rank 20 mark, we have a look at Mushoku Tensei. As always, a word I use to describe Mushoku Tensei is pioneer. It helped create the isekai we know today, with it showing its influence in the genre to this day. At its core, Mushoku Tensei is a story of exploration and self-growth. It's also a bit harder to find a peer for the series when it comes to world building, and the anime is one of the adaptations that had so much care put into it. It was one of the best adapted light novels out there, and signs are pointing to more anime content to come. Granted, it's garnered its fair share of controversy, so it's not a title that I'll readily recommend to anyone. That doesn't change the fact that in terms of production and legacy, it's one of the key foundational series out there. Number 19 on the list is Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man really burst onto the scene, didn't it? The hype was off the charts even before it aired, and it wasn't like anything I've seen recently. Then the actual product came out, and I did have my doubts. After watching it, I'll say it pretty much deserved most of the excitement surrounding it. As a supposed spectacle, Chainsaw Man is nothing short of impressive. The fights are insanely cool and all, but let's not forget the characters who are charming and show an element of self-awareness with the anime fan culture at large. I give you this though, compared to more typical action anime, Chainsaw Man isn't something easy for the everyman anime watcher to get into. It's pretty dark and has themes and humour that people used to watching safer things like Demon Slayer may deem questionable. Still, evaluating it as just an anime and a visual production is pretty much everything an action anime fan would want in the modern world. Something that I felt was grossly underrated, however, is my number 18 anime, Summertime Render. Summertime Render is an interesting case. It started out leaning heavily on the mystery aspect, but at the halfway point, it transitioned into an exciting action anime that made such great use of the time reset concept that seasoned anime watchers may be familiar with at this point. Contrary to the common sentiment I see online, it's actually the second half that made me more engaged, where the question shifted from making sense of the shadows and the murders to finding a way to solve the puzzle and overcome a seemingly unbeatable foe capable of using our protagonist's greatest strengths against them. Summertime Render is an amazing thriller through and through. It utilizes the time reset mechanic in a way to keep stakes high, and it's a show that keeps you on your toes, thinking alongside the characters with regards to its mysteries. Best of all, it's a contained narrative that neatly wraps everything up in its over 20 episode run. Number 17 is Bungo Stray Dogs. Talk about a series that just keeps getting better. Early Bungo Stray Dogs is a joy to watch. Piecing together mysteries, exciting fights and powers, and literary references provided me with something enjoyable to pass the time with. However, as the stakes gradually got higher and higher in the future seasons, I could confidently say that we had a winner on our hands here. The first parts of the series may just drag on a little bit, but they don't even give you the full picture, and it's a series that you'll learn to appreciate the longer you stick with it. I personally like how the fights are well thought out. I guess it helps that this series is categorized as seinen, hence the more mature themes, the darker backdrop, and the more methodical action sequences. It's overall a well-produced show that can be your favorite if it hits the right notes. For 16, we have Parasite. Here's another mature action anime. Parasite blends a philosophical and environmentalist theme with a high-octane action series that boasts a great main duo dynamic. The combination really works, as some will hop on for the brutal action sequences and the heart-pounding suspense in fights, while others will stay for the surprisingly thought-provoking messages that the anime tries to tell us. The characterization for both the protagonist and the antagonist are also on point, and they help make this series a memorable one for me. Parasite is one of the best things that 2014 gave us. It's too bad that it got overshadowed by a lot of bangers airing alongside it. Still, fans of sci-fi horror shouldn't miss this. Like Summertime Render, it also paces itself nicely and wraps things up neatly, so you won't come out of this feeling lacking. Here we are at the halfway point. Hit that like button while you're at it to help the channel out with the YouTube algorithm. We've still got 15 anime for you, so stay tuned for the second half of the list. Magi comes in at number 15. Magi's an anime that I didn't really look at first, but ended up being one of my favourite shows around the mid-2010s. Taking inspiration from the Arabian Nights stories with its overall setting, Magi crafts a really interesting world that parallels our own. Throw in some daring adventures, well-rounded characters whose individual journeys we follow, a cool power system, and some political intrigue, and you have one of the surprising hits of its era. It was really a complete package, and the second season was even better than the first one in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, you have to read the manga to know the rest of the story from that point onwards. On the other hand, at least they got the peak of the series animated. When it comes to different point of view characters, nothing does it better than Baccano. A well-renowned classic from the late 2000s, Baccano prides itself in its unique way of telling its story. Different events, different characters, all seemingly unrelated, but eventually converging into one big narrative you unravel once you're done with the show. It's truly unconventional, and it's something that not a lot of people can appreciate at first, but I honestly think it's genius with how it opens up numerous ways of looking at events and characters. All the while, it also successfully mixes suspense, comedy, and a whole lot of action. Much like Summertime Render, Baccano is a show that keeps your mind working, figuring things out. It's definitely more light-hearted than the former, but Baccano also has a lot of moments filled with drama and tension. Our number 13 anime, however, seems to go all in on comedy. This is Gintama. Gintama over the years has become synonymous with parody. Off-the-rails comedy and a lot of wild, exaggerated expressions are things that Gintama has pretty much owned if you were to ask any anime fan in the 2000s. However, it would be a disservice if we're going to reduce the series to its signature brand of comedy, even though being king of comedy is its claim to fame. Beyond the laughs, beyond the crazy moments as well, we have one of the most dramatic and epic tales revolving around a bygone era in Japan. A lot of genuinely heart-wrenching events and goosebump-inducing scenes of triumph await those who have the patience to plow through the hundreds of episodes. Now, the journey may be long, but it's oh so rewarding. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is at number 12. Oh, where to start with JoJo, one of the most creative battle anime out there that's dropped footprints on meme culture in the anime sphere. Maybe we can start with the battles and powers that simply ooze creativity. How does the anime just not seem to take itself seriously and go up and beyond with giving us some of the most over-the-top sequences in anime and making things look really cool while doing so? It takes a genius to pull that off, but thankfully, Araki is the man for the job. With so many parts available for watching, you'll have more than enough of your JoJo fix. There's no better time to start getting into the hype train of this generational adventure than the present.
1秒前0
One Punch Man is number 11 on the list.
俺の町に落ちてんじゃねえ
If you want to see what Madhouse was putting out in its peak years, then look no further than this anime that swept all over the airwaves in 2015. One Punch Man's setup and the underlying joke are simple. You have a protagonist so strong, he easily defeats everything in one punch. It's a parody of the whole overpowered hero thing, but watching a couple of episodes is all you need to tell that there's way more to it. You can feast on the spectacular visuals, pretty much on par with Ufotable, or you could find yourself caught up with the charming cast of characters who you'll easily get attached to. It truly nails the formula for an enjoyable parody while being more than competent in the production side of things. The second season didn't quite capture the magic, but I still find the series overall to be a very fun watch that's more than the sum of its parts. We start our march to the top 10 with Mob Psycho 100. You think One Punch Man Season 1's animation is great? Wait till you see the unmatched visuals that Mob Psycho has made its claim to fame. But putting that aside, I'll just say that the show is just plain fun to watch. The plot's quite simple, but with how endearing the characters and their respective arcs are, this is an anime you just can't put down. It's exciting, and it's definitely the best amongst the charming, supernatural character dramas in the world of anime. The cool thing about Mob Psycho, its succeeding seasons more than held the line, even improving in some aspects. That means even more thrilling battles, more emotional stakes down the line, and of course peak art and animation. Bleach comes in at number 9 on the list. Few anime in the 2000s can come close to this supernatural battle series in terms of exuding a certain aura of cool. It's not overly edgy or anything like that, but there really is a more mature bite with how Bleach's characters, world and storyline are. There's a distinct teenage rebel energy that makes it my favourite amongst the mainstream shonen back in the day, if we're just talking visuals and the overall feel of the characters. Bleach is cool, plain and simple, and it rode that wave into becoming one of the most influential anime in the 2000s. There may be some mixed opinions regarding the series as a whole, some manga criticisms which I concede to even as a fan. However, that makes its recent run for Thousand Year Blood War all the more exciting. Thousand Year Blood War has done such an excellent job in filling in some lacking details in the manga's final arc, as well as presenting its key moments in glorious fashion, whether it be in the sound or visual departments.
天地開人
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is here at number 8. You know, there's not a lot of anime I can give the distinction of being the complete package. One which can really appeal to the people who enjoy their action and adventure, while also appealing to those who prefer smarter and more philosophical shows with strong writing and a tight narrative. A lot of anime show promise, but to masterfully hit the right notes in both categories? They're few and far between. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood falls into this category. An epic adventure, some of the best written characters in all of anime, a fair balance of action and introspection, and a story that doesn't lose momentum at all. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has it all. I won't call it the absolute best anime ever bar none, but the hype is definitely in the right place for the most part. Much of the praise for FMA has been directed at Brotherhood, and rightfully so. Still, I wouldn't overlook the first season. The original FMA also has its fair share of moments. At lucky 7, we have One Piece. With 2.5 decades under its belt, One Piece has continued captivating fans worldwide even in the year 2024. Just how does it keep doing that? With infinite possibilities. One thing I'll always love about One Piece is just how many stories it can tell with its seemingly limitless world, a world that's filled with all sorts of characters and societies. Even through all of these years, the feeling of being wide-eyed and excited at the prospect of an adventure is always there for One Piece. It's hard to encapsulate everything that makes One Piece great in just a paragraph or so, but I would place the adventure aspect first and the charming characters second. Oh, and for fans who can't get enough of Demon Slayer and its sheer production value, modern One Piece has a lot of fights near that level too. Number 6 is Naruto.
みんな渦巻きナルトが帰ってきたぞ
Now, this could be a controversial take because Naruto itself was one of the more polarizing shows in the 2000s despite its popularity. To me, the criticisms don't really take away from the fact that the show was that important in anime's mainstream popularity, and at its core, it legitimately had a great underdog story to tell. It has an interesting world, a litany of memorable fights and moments, and some genuinely heartfelt and wholesome themes, perfect for both younger and older fans alike. It's not the perfect anime by any means, far from it, but I really enjoyed it, and it's one of the pillars of anime that introduced the medium to a whole generation. The long journey, even after you take away the notoriously long fillers, is well worth it. Top 5 on the list is Vinland Saga. I think highly of Vinland Saga. The same is true even in its second season, where the action has taken a back seat. I just think that it makes Vinland Saga one of the most complete anime out there, being able to give us an epic and mature adventure of revenge as well as long moments of reflection that I feel modern anime just don't get enough of. Historical action anime has never been this cool while being legitimately educational before, and I'm all for that. I put Vinland Saga as my anime of the year in 2019, and it doesn't take a lot to see why. It's a really holistic experience of what anime can be. It's a great gateway to anyone who wants to see the best of action anime. Number 4 is Jujutsu Kaisen. Such a hot upstart, already managing to take the reins to be, in my opinion, the 4th best action anime in the century. Being released recently has a lot to do with how Jujutsu Kaisen has seemingly learned from its predecessors and improved in a lot of areas. Supernatural action has never looked this awesome before, and the second season has been a big turning point in the series as a whole. Each episode of the Shibuya arc had me on the edge of my seat, but I feel that the big moments needed time to just breathe. The first part of season 2, however, was a different story, and it's arguably even better. I know, recency bias and all of that, but still, that doesn't change the fact that Jujutsu Kaisen has in some areas perfected the formula of the genre that's filled with memorable characters and insane fights. You're missing out as an action anime fan if you're not watching this now. Starting our countdown to the top 3 is Fate Zero. The Fate series really had a strong hold in the anime world around the 2010s. I love a whole lot of them, whether it be the movies, UBW, the FGO titles and such, but if I were to recommend just one to watch, it would definitely be Zero. This prequel to the mainline Fate Stay Night story is a modern masterpiece with impeccable plot progression and a gripping tale that heavily revolves around morality. Not to mention you have awesome fights scattered all over with breathtaking displays of power through the characters' noble phantasms. Fate Zero really is the chronological starting point if you want to get into Fate Stay Night, but it's also the best one amongst them. I love UBW and the Heaven's Feel movies to death, but Zero's really where it's at if you've got only one go at a Fate title. Hunter x Hunter, the 2011 version, is in second place. This really is one of my favourite anime of all time. Hunter x Hunter is the show that has it all. You still got the magic of the 90s version with its captivating plot, well-written characters and creative powers and battles, but this time add in more modern presentation techniques and you've got one of the best remakes possible. Hunter x Hunter has aged wonderfully in the new era. If you want adventure, if you want some imaginative fights, if you want awesome character writing, Hunter x Hunter has it all. The hype is more than justified for this show. It's not your typical shonen anime, and it's well worth your time even if you've already seen a lot of anime. This will truly provide you with an epic experience that you won't forget. Saving the best for last, we have Attack on Titan at number 1. What else could be at the very top of this list? None other than possibly the most influential action anime of this century. Sure, the Big Jump Shonen had their time to shine in the 2000s, but I really don't think anything can compare in sheer impact. Attack on Titan took the world by storm, and you just had to be there to even comprehend how big it was. It had the perfect ingredients for the aforementioned storm, with a gripping storyline, a lack of the usual anime tropes, fan service and plot armor, and a bleak and cynical outlook which made it perfect for the worldwide audience. It also had one hell of a character development as an anime, showing that it can be more than just action survival anime in its decade-long run. Truly one of the most memorable hits in the decade and a landmark title for this generation. And there you have it, the top 30 action anime as far as this century is concerned. Well, what about your picks? Make sure to share them down in the comments below. Don't hesitate to let me know some of the shows that you think got snubbed in this particular list, because I'm sure that there's probably tons of them. Once again, thank you for watching, and I wish you a great day. I'll be seeing you sooner rather than later with the next video on this channel.